Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford. And today, our opening kill is the creator of Nick Says Boo.
I guess
me.
The namesake. And we are here to continue our last year. Our road to Halloween Kills was watching. What did we watch up until H2O? Yeah, because it was right before this one. And now we have Resurrection. We're going to be going through both Rob Zombie movies, and I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's it up until.
I forgot we had those to go
We
through,
do,
too.
and I love them so much. What do you think of the Rob Zombie ones, Nick?
The first one's okay. I
Yeah.
am in the minority. I actually like the second one better than the first one. I actually think the second one's pretty good.
But we're not there. We're at Halloween Resurrection. Where does this one rank for you on like all of the Halloween movies?
At the bottom, it's
Really?
keeping Halloween Kills company.
Okay. Which one is like at the bottom? Halloween Kills or this one?
I don't know. Like, that's hard because Halloween Kills, while I do think Halloween Kills is a very bad movie, Halloween Kills is a movie that I feel takes itself seriously, which makes it worse. Whereas Halloween Resurrection, I don't think for a single second that they didn't know what kind of movie they were making. There's no way.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's bad, but it's watchable.
Ian, where are you at with this one? Where's it on the list?
Because
Because you hated Kills. You hated Kills.
I fucking hate Kills. I agree with you. I'm glad that you're a big Halloween fan and you also feel that way. Zach was like too fair about it, even though it is bad. But I think I would put 6 at the bottom. I think I would put 6 below this.
Really?
Had
Like-
you seen 6 before watching for this?
Oh.
Or well, for the
Well,
this
no,
channel.
I had never seen 4, 5, or 6 until I had to watch them all last year. That's why I said I wanted to go back and record for 4, because I was like, well, after seeing 5 and 6, 4 doesn't seem that bad. But 6 was like really bad. Like 6, you could tell he died halfway through recording because the movie completely falls apart. And like when they're running around that hospital, and I think it's what you just said, it takes itself seriously too.
Yeah.
And it like tries. I almost feel like with Paul Rudd, it tries to do like a Buffy thing where it's like, look, we're like being jokey and we know it, but like we're still serious, but it doesn't ever work. And when they're running around that hospital and every hallway is different because it clearly is a different set every time they make a turn. And then how it just ends. Yeah, I like really hated that movie. So I think it would be like 6 Resurrection and Kills like would be the bottom of the barrel for me.
How does it make you feel knowing that there's the producer's cut, which is
haven't
basically
seen the
a completely
producer's cut,
different
right?
movie?
I would be interested to read a synopsis. Of
You don't want to watch it? Maybe I could get you to watch it like next year. Maybe if we're like one more year removed, I could get you to watch that one. I still think the producer's cut is not that great either. I don't think it's much better. People praise it, and people wanted the producer's cut for a long time. It was like Snyder fan level, right? Like they wanted that shit. And at the end result, it just was always going to be a bad movie because they just like had too many cooks in the kitchen the entire time.
Exactly.
From the very
very
beginning.
obvious.
Yeah. And it sucks because Daniel Varins was a big Halloween fan, and that's why he got the job, right? Is like he knew the franchise, and it would have been nice to see at least his version, whether it would have come out bad or not. It'd have been nice to just see that vision. But this one, for me, I think suffers in like how mediocre it is and how dull and like forgettable. Where I think even 6 has like, I don't know, I remember watching 6 and like it might be the nostalgia tie to it, but when she's running across the street, Laurie Strode style, that's like real fun for me. When she jumps out of the window, I love like action, and like 6 has plenty of action, where I feel like this one really drags.
Who even is the she you're talking about in 6? Isn't it Loomis and Paul Rudd that are the main characters?
We got a
Kara.
woman in there. This one, yeah, I just think that with how boring this one is, that's why I don't like it as much. But especially because it's coming after H2O, right? And I think we can all agree H2O is phenomenal. The ending of H2O was phenomenal. If they reused the ending for Halloween Ends just for or of H2O's ending, I would be completely fine with it. I wouldn't have any notes, no complaints. I wouldn't say anything about it. Pretend I never saw it.
They won't
before.
top that ending. They will never top that ending.
They won't. But while they were filming that one, they knew, and Jamie Lee Curtis knew, much to her dismay, that this one was coming. They wanted a new one. They would not kill Michael Myers unless they had like a backup plan. So they have all of these like this B-roll that they shot while they were shooting H2O that they knew they were going to put in here to kind of like, and they do it pretty quick. Like within the first 5 minutes, they're like, "Yep, this is how he didn't die." Right? Jamie Lee Curtis is in this one pretty quick. She said, just kill me off. What do you think about her in this one? Because me and Ian were like going back and forth on this one.
I mean, it's bad, but it was her decision. She came up with exactly how she wanted that all to go.
Yeah.
And I feel like following Jamie Lee Curtis's career, I'll get there's a couple examples. So The Fog from the 80s, if you listen to the soundtrack that's on Spotify, the last track is like an old school interview with her. And she has this kind of trend throughout her career where she'll say like, I'm not doing another horror movie, or I'm not going to act anymore. But then the second that, money comes up, she's like, I'm back. And I actually got to see that in person because I met her at a book signing in 2016. And there was a Q&A and somebody was like, would you ever return back to play Laurie Strode again? And she goes, who the fuck would watch that? We'd be like in our 60s. Nobody's going to believe that. It was like a year later, they announced that she was going to be back.
Yeah.
But like that shit makes me nuts. That's like a thing I don't like that she does, is like she will shit on her franchise and then be like, no, this is great, and then shit on it again, and then backpedal, and then shit on it again, and then backpedal. And that like really makes me nuts. Like really does.
Mm-hmm. John Carpenter kind of does that too, though. Where he'll
my god,
he's a little bit more forward with it though, right? He's like, I'm just here for the money. He's even already said it before this.
Yeah,
he's
and
like,
he's like,
they're like,
I respect
would
that.
there be more? And he's like, is there more money? Is there more money? Yes, then there will be more, right? But you want to hire Jamie Lee Curtis for your project. I'll say that, right? Because for this one, she did all the interviews she needed to do. She did like the behind the scenes interview. She showed up at the premiere. She like smiled, danced around the red carpet. Like Jamie Lee Curtis is the one you want to promote your freaking movie. She shows up at D23 on a dune buggy. She's there. Okay. She's the most game for it.
But I will say like, I'm sure there's plenty of other ways that they could have written her out, but I do feel like from her perspective, it probably was a little bit of a fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
To go out that way, because she knew that it was going to piss people off, which also she's been saying that the Halloween Ends is going to piss people off. So I'm like, please don't give us another resurrection.
I know.
But no, I mean, it's bad and it doesn't really make a lot of logical sense, even with the character. Like, why would she think that dropping him off the top of the building was going to do anything? But it's a shitty way to go out, especially after the high that H2O ended on. But I can't say that I think that the twist is necessarily bad. But I don't like the way that it was presented on screen. The idea made sense, but given what he goes through at the end of H2O, it doesn't make sense.
It's one of the most like pre-planned things they've ever done in a Halloween in the franchise as well, right? Like they really like thought this out and had it like sitting for like 4 years and ready to go. Now that it's like removed and we have gotten Laurie Strode back and we've gotten Jamie Lee Curtis back and like we can look back on this movie, I appreciate this as like a kind of out there idea, because for me, that original timeline ended with H2O. This one was just not part of that. And so it's fun to kind of see this like weird little like 5 to 10 minute scene that we have of her in this, and just doing like if somebody wrote a bad way to send out a final girl, this is what we got. We don't have to talk about it. We have it. We can watch it, right? And I have, as many times as I've revisited this movie, I've revisited the intro to this movie 10 times more, because when you watch her, she still is magnetic, she still is there, and she is Jamie Lee Curtis, a star. I don't know if Ian agrees with any of that, though. I don't think you do.
He does not.
It's okay. It's okay.
But he doesn't want to fight, so he's
no,
quiet.
Let's fight. Let's duke it out. I want all your thoughts on Jamie Lee Curtis and this opening.
I think she was incredibly phoning it in this. I think it's clear that she hated doing it. I think it's clear that she didn't want to do it. And I think she's like phoning it in big time in this whole scene.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
And like, I do think she's a good actress. Like, it's not like I like ever think that's why for me that I do feel like this is phoning it in, because I do think she's a good actress.
Well, I think even when she's phoning it in, she's still like really great. I don't know. I just think she's great, So
Yeah.
it's okay. We'll just sit in silence for a couple minutes and stare at each other over this one. Yeah, she's out of it pretty quick. We just kind of like move along.
Yeah.
And then what?
I was gonna say, so Nick, I was telling Zach this. I literally hadn't watched this movie since I saw it in theaters because that's how much I hated it. Like I remember when we opened on Jamie Lee, I remember like as a teenager sitting in the theater being like, "Oh, are they gonna fucking kill her? Like, is that what we're doing?" And then they killed her, and I was so mad that I like could not enjoy the rest of the movie because, especially back then when I was a teen, like H2O and Scream were like they were it for horror movies. Like they were my favorites. So to like you keep saying, like the high of H2O to then do this felt like, and it's wild that I didn't know it was planned until Zach told me. Like he sent me a video clip of Jamie Lee Curtis, I think at like Comic-Con, talking about how it was planned. Because in my head, when I was watching this in the theater, I remember being like, this is so thrown together. Like, what the fuck is this? And it's wild that it was totally planned out.
Yeah. And she collected a paycheck for it. She got paid for it. She showed up, did her 2 days of filming.
I don't begrudge anyone a paycheck. I don't.
It's just, it is what it is, I guess. I remember watching this one. I watched this one on pay-per-view. I remember it coming on pay-per-view. You'd have to wait until the next showing. So I'd wait for every showing just to see this opening with her. And I think it was just me as a little Gaby. I enjoyed the long hair. I liked that she had long hair in it. I liked the hospital gown. I liked that she looked a little bit more like out of it. My dog is having a choking fit next to me. Sorry.
Oh my God, I thought that was a car driving by.
I thought it was too, about to come. Like, I'm on the second floor. What are we doing? It just, I don't know. It still works for me. But this was their attempt to move beyond the family stuff and the niece and the sister and all of that. So they did points for trying to create something that can live beyond Laurie Strode, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do we think of the whole story, though?
I actually don't mind the story. I think it's pretty clever. Now, obviously, the house, while the house looks good, the house is probably 3 times the size of the original house. Yeah. Which, given the story, is necessary because, I mean, even like I rewatched it again last night and I'm like, how the hell did they not figure out that he was in
This is
the
what we were
house?
saying the entire time. We're like, Busta Rhymes comes in, slams the door. He's yelling downstairs. Nobody hears him. Nobody hears the guy getting killed in front of the mirror. Like, it just...
Yeah, like
he was in the next room with the door open screaming.
Like every one of those murders, everyone should have heard them happening.
They were all screaming. They had like one single scream actress just like doing all of the dubbing for everybody, right? Because I swear even the guys were screaming the same way. And all in this house. And this house is it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 rooms max, right? With a couple hallways in there.
Right.
But
I managed to actually go inside the actual original house in real life, and it is
really?
Tiny.
I bet.
It's tiny. Like you're not even getting 2 people next to each other, barely walking down a hallway. So it was definitely expanded for the movie. But no, I mean, I do think that the story is moderately clever. It just wasn't executed well, and it's 100% a product of its time.
Yeah.
You had other movies coming out in and around that. I think Fear.com came out.
Oh my God.
In and around that
I forgot
time.
about that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
it was a lot of
dated.
like technology-based horror.
very
And it's dated too.
It's funny because I feel like, Zach, that's like what we were saying when we were watching it, right? Like
It's very dated. Yeah.
aside from the technology looking ridiculous because it's so dated, the like plot isn't bad. It just is executed incredibly poorly.
Because it feels
With,
like something we
bland
could see
characters.
today, right? It's
Yeah.
like teens with cell phones in an abandoned house. Like, it's very much something that was kind of forward thinking at the time. It just is like the technology is really dated and the dangertainment and like all of these little like bits and pieces, are very like new millennium. And it's like, the most dated thing in Scream we were talking is the, ironically, the most technologically advanced part where she, dials 911 on the computer, right? Like that's technology. And it's always technology that is the dated part of these movies, Even
then, Zach, don't you remember like when we started this podcast and we watched Scream, I was like, this is one of my favorite movies, and I still don't know what the fuck she's doing. I was literally alive
I've
at
never
that time.
understood what she was doing.
So it is how deaf people could call 911 is what
Yes.
she's using, like a system for deaf people. I don't understand why she would have that, but we found out that that's what it is. And I spent like 20 years having no clue in my favorite movie how she's calling 911.
We don't need to know. It just happens. That's just what she does, okay? And that's just what they do in this one, okay? Deckard has got his computer, all his computer tech stuff. He's got the big screen at the party. Deckard has, or they all have Palm Pilots. You know, they got the Palm Pilots in the little
I forgot that was even until you said that, Zach. I was like, I wouldn't even have remembered that was what they were called.
There's no way they couldn't have already been texting at that point, right? They
when
have
she
cell phones
pulls
in this.
out when she pulls out the Palm Pilot, like when she realizes that Deckard can see her, and then she's got to like pull it out. Like I'm sitting there and I'm watching this. I'm like, look how long it's taking her just to open the damn phone and pull out the pen.
It's wild. It's just all the technology is what dates it, because I think it's a story that could be, I mean, I hope they never do it, but it could be adapted to like many more movies, right? Like in every single generation.
Slayer is born.
They set up a new Final Girl. What do we think of this Final Girl?
I don't think of her. No. I mean, when you're casting somebody as your final girl and her screams have to be dubbed,
yes,
like you gotta go back to the source. That's where the problem started.
Roof. And like no one's really that dynamic in the movie, but like literally almost all the other characters are more dynamic than she is.
She's just like, when your supporting cast has more personality than you, that's the real problem there, right? And I didn't mind how she was styled. You got to have real good costume with Final Girl. I thought her denim looked good, you know. At the end, she's covered in blood. There's no reason she should be covered in blood, but she's covered in blood, and it's like a good look. But she just sucks. She sucks, like real bad.
Yeah, she goes from like screaming and crying, and then like 3 seconds later, just blank slate. Absolutely no emotion on her. He cut her leg multiple times. I mean, this isn't really like costuming. This is just sort of a blooper, but I noticed this. He cuts her leg multiple times, and literally the next frame, there's nothing there.
Really?
She's just walking around. She's not even limping.
See it. Yeah.
The first cut, she limps, and then she just stops limping, and then gets cut again, and
these cuts are not big enough to be limping, right? Like she's just like, everything she's doing is very much. And again, this also goes to writing, director, all of this. It's not not actress.
It's not just her.
Okay, like we got to give her a little bit more credit at least. It's just freaking. She doesn't help anybody. She kind of like stands around the whole movie until the very end, and then Busta Rhymes got to come in and save her ass. You know, Busta Rhymes was a better Final Girl than she was.
Oh God!
She does have
his karate noises.
She does have one line that I really like, though, when she goes and she knocks on Busta Rhymes' door, and he's like, "Fear motivates," and she's like, "Fear makes me want to throw up."
There you go. There you go. I forgot it because she's so forgettable. I don't even remember that. Don't even remember it, because all I keep thinking is when she's got the chainsaw at the end and she's saying the most generic line she can. She's like, "You take this." And for this one, this is for Jen and all of them.
This is for Rudy, as she doesn't even hit him. He blocks it with the knife.
The people Rudy I didn't try to help whatsoever, right? The people who were... Poor Rudy.
Well, her and the chef watch the guy in the leather jacket. They just stand there. They don't even run away. They just watch Michael squish his head.
And don't scream until he's dead, by the way. They like stay very silent. They're like, this is Michael's scene. We're going to let him shine. That's how the whole movie is carried out, you know? Like nobody does anything ever.
Now, granted, I haven't seen her other work, so I don't necessarily want to speak to her as an actress, but I will say that based upon this film, the most memorable part about her was not from this film. It was the fact that my brain kept flashing to Bring It On.
Oh, is
because
she in that?
She's the one that breaks her leg, that falls off of the pyramid thing in the beginning.
I would never have.
And then at the end, during like she's like dancing with the crutches.
I remember that character, but
that's her.
What? I don't know. This is a cast of characters that we have kind of two differing cast of characters here, right? We have our people in the house, and then we have the people at the party. The people at the party also I'm more invested in what's going on at this party in this room than I am with the people in the house going through it, right? I think we're just like making a lot of missteps here with all of these characters where they should have been interacting with each other a lot more. Because when you have the scenes of like Rudy and Sarah like smoking weed together, that's fun. That's fun stuff, you know? We need more of them, but like they were just like all standing in their own corners, Blair Witch style, until it was their time to be called to the stage, right?
Right.
And it just is weird that, like, again, the house is very obviously small, but then they make it seem so big. And it's like, okay, even if they're smoking weed, they would hear the person in the next room getting murdered. Like, they just would.
Or are they paranoid? Like,
well, like,
Listen,
it begs the question if you know they can't seem to hear anything. Okay, so we'll put aside the fact that he burst through a mirror and he was screaming and nobody heard. How the fuck did he get him in the attic?
yeah.
And nobody heard, nobody saw that. Like the whole house is covered in cameras.
They're going
and
through.
Nobody saw him.
They're going through the walls. Okay, like Black Christmas. They're going through the walls. He's just like hoisting. That would have been a cool shot to see though. If we saw him like pulling bodies through the wall, like up to the attic. Some shit like that would have been nice. But like even Michael Myers is pretty sidelined here, right? Like he looks bored to shit with these victims. You know. Michael Myers is another really good one, right? What?
I was gonna say, when you said that his hair looked like it was styled from Freaky Friday, that like really got me, because
it's Jamie Lee Curtis and Freaky Friday. This is New Millennium Michael Myers. H2O in this one is New Millennium Michael Myers. He is de-aged to like a 25-year-old. He's built like a 25-year-old. He looks very sexy, I will say. I think the guy underneath the mask too was like a Canadian stuntman, and so he was also very sexy.
Yes, he was.
So that's what I am
yes,
picturing.
He was. He does the convention circuit all the time, and even now he can get it.
Does he? I've never, I've never even seen him out. He was okay in this. I mean, it's like this is like the standard Michael Myers by this point, right? You just have the knife, you just have the mask, and you just kind of move around and like don't talk. There's not a whole lot of like the mannerisms of that we love of Michael Myers, you know, the tilting of the head or like the playful kills and stuff like that. But I don't know. I got a crush on the New Millennium Michael Myers.
I would say the only thing that I didn't particularly care about his performance and like the way he walked is, and you kind of really notice it during the shot after he gives the mental patient the knife and he's walking down the hallway and you hear the voiceover. He always has his arms out.
Yeah. When
he's walking, and I didn't quite understand.
It's because it's just it's the idea of doing Michael Myers, right? If like you or I put on a costume and like walk down the street just with our friends or something like that, there's a certain like idea you have of Michael Myers already, and I think that was just his is just like. Because he had like a broad shoulder, broad back, you know, just kind of like went up like that. And I noticed that a lot on the roof scene with Jamie Lee Curtis as well.
What do you think about the mask?
It's a little dull, which I think the whole movie is a little dull. But again, I'm like pretty turned on by New Millennium Michael Myers, and I think he looks pretty sexy in this mask. I like the spiky hair. I like that he took some like gotta be gel and just like, you know.
I do actually like the mask. For like, let's just go past that one. I do like the mask. I think the mask looks better when it's in shadows. I don't particularly like when they're constantly showing it up close because it just looks rubbery. Like it's especially noticeable like when he has, which I do actually think that this sequence is funny. The whole him
Myers.
Talking to Freddy in the Michael Myers costume. And he's like yelling at him, and he gives, go into the garage, which he does to kill her.
To kill Tyra Banks, yeah.
But I'm a fan of the mask in this one. I do, just to echo what we were talking about earlier, I don't understand why they just didn't fucking keep recreating the first mask.
It's so weird too, right? Like I don't understand why that was so difficult. Because they did have it for 4. That's the exact mask that they had for 4, and they still like really. I have seen him create that mask again like recently on a YouTube video, and he's like, it takes 5 minutes, let me show. All of these fans try to like do real deep like recreations for it. This is how easy it is, and he literally just did it exactly like he did it back in 1978, and it's easy. Even this one, even for this new trilogy, I'm not a fan of this mask. I think it's fun. I don't think it's that great though.
It was fine for me in 2018, but I'm a person where, like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, aside from the flashbacks and kills, we haven't had a clean mask since Resurrection.
Yeah.
Well, I guess technically, you could count the beginning of the remake, but
That was a good mask. I liked that one.
it was so big.
He's a
I
big
don't
dude.
really, I don't really notice much of the mask, like unless it's like real
Really?
silly.
You didn't notice
Yeah.
any? Which one didn't you notice? Because we've got Halloween 6, Michael Myers mask, where he's
No. I mean, like, I noticed the blonde one. I noticed
yeah.
like it looks like goofier sometimes, but I don't notice like all the differences y'all are talking about.
Okay.
I feel like
Like
that's how I am with when people talk about the Scream, the differences with the Scream mask. I was
Oh,
like, I
I don't
can't fucking see a
understand.
single thing.
Sometimes I'm like, it's a little wider, you know.
I still there's like what is it? The one scene in the beginning of the first one where it is different. There's
The
like
K&D mask, yeah.
yeah, there's only one scene where I'm like, okay, I can tell that's a little different, but
I
that's it.
cannot. I still can't.
It's just,
Yeah,
but
the
it's like
only time that
a
I've ever been
little.
able to see any sort of difference with the costume, like for in Scream, was in Scream 5. And that's not even the face, that's the robe.
Yeah.
Because the robe looked cheap.
This a little bit more back to the house. I do enjoy that the house was like all on a soundstage. I thought that was pretty clever, right? And the cutting back and forth between across the street and the soundstage house because it's a pretty big property. And up until this movie, I mean, we've had so many Michael Myers houses, right? I don't understand why it's hard to get the house right. I don't understand why it's hard to get the mask right. There's just certain things that I'm like, we have a reference for it already. Is
Yeah.
that's an easy facade to do, I would assume. A lot easier than, going and getting this big ass mansion. I guess, the mansion had more room to play, but
From 5?
yeah. But I still liked, even in the back of like this one, they added more roofing so she could have like a roof climb part, right? And I love a roof. I love when they like play
Zach
with their
loves
space.
a roof. He
Love
does.
a roof. I love when they play with the space, and so I liked that they were doing that. There's like a point in the movie where, or I guess they're just as soon as they get in the house, they're exploring the entire time, right? And then we maybe start getting them picked off one by one, and it just drags, and then there's a point where it's finally just like down to like maybe 2 or 3 of them, and then it starts picking up and they're running through the house. And like I do enjoy that stuff. I thought that was pretty good. Like when she's climbing on the roof, when she goes up to the attic, like it is fine. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some. I think it starts to pick up right when I think her name is Donna, when she discovers that he's been living underneath the house.
Yeah.
Because it just kind of breaks up the monotony of what we've been watching so far. That's when it starts to pick up a little bit for me, and we start to get a little bit more of, because like I'm a big thing with films showing the space that you're in.
Yes.
Like I love it when we have sequences where we're following a character, or they're just walking through the space so that we can learn, and they do that a lot in the Scream films, which I really, really appreciate. But I feel like we didn't really have a sense of the house until the second half of the movie, despite the fact that for a good portion, we've already been in the house. And it's because all the rooms sort of looked the same.
Yeah.
And they made it seem so big because it felt like they were so far away from each other when like realistically they're not.
Yeah, and
Right.
a good like contrast to the original one, right? Like we start at the front of the house, we go through the back, we go through the kitchen, dining room, up the stairs. Like we see it, we're moving with it. And this one, I feel like had we had just a couple of shots doing just that a little bit, rather than cutting so much to POV camera shots, right? I think that's what took me out of it. Is like I was there, I was looking around the space because I love a set, and I remember when I was a kid watching the DVD, they have a behind this like a set tour. That I was obsessed with watching. I loved watching them go through that set. But watching the movie, you don't even, like you just said, like you don't really get a sense of the space at all because there's just too much happening.
Do you want to talk about Katie Sackhoff, how they like showed the boobs, but she didn't want them to?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people know this story already, right?
I didn't know until you told me.
Oh, well, so she did not want. I think we were already talking a little bit earlier, right? Like she's one of the funner characters. She's one of the characters like, but because she's the blonde who like shows her bra, she's got to be the one to die. But like she had more personality than the final girl. This is like a character we should have kept around. But she did not want to show any bra or any nudity or anything like that. That's just not the direction she was wanting to go with her career. And like especially with an actress in Hollywood, it's totally understandable that filmmakers see that and they see you come up on their casting roster and they're like, oh, well, she'll do that, So she said she wasn't going to do that. They went in after and inserted a second shot of like a stunt double or something, not a stunt, stunt double, pulling up her shirt,
kinda.
right? And she didn't even know about it until she's sitting in the theater, sees it, and you can clearly see where it cuts away. And so she lifted the shirt to about her ribs, and that was about it, just showing her midriff. And so now, to this day, she has it in all of her contracts that they're not even allowed to do body doubles for anything like that. That will never happen to her again. Which is
I would have tried to sue them for that. That would have pissed me off.
That is shitty. Yeah,
because it can like mess up a career. You know, like if
Right.
you don't want to get typecast into something like that, especially at the time when you are playing the blonde who, just from all of the past horror movies, she would have been the one to show her boobs, right? Like instead of the redhead, you know. I wonder if that's why the redhead like had the sex scene, is because maybe she didn't want to do it.
I actually thought the redhead was the most dynamic.
Really? That's just kind of boring.
Oh, she drove me nuts.
Yeah, I didn't like her.
Like whenever she tried to talk smart, I'm like, what the fuck are you even saying?
Lothario.
Like you just right.
I don't even know that. I don't even know what that
substance
means.
Comes
but...
before existence. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
It was a good line though. What time do they open? 1 o'clock.
I thought like her chase scene was actually like good. I don't know. Like
to a certain point, I think she should have like been halfway through the bars or something like that. Just like a little bit extra, just that tiny bit of push. Yeah.
Also,
the sound design was good when she died, though, because like as he's slowly pushing her into the spike, like I kind of winced a little bit because like the way that she's like, the sound she's making, I'm like, this sounds like it fucking hurts.
Yeah, that's going through.
Yeah, because it goes in like a little bit and then it goes in more, so it's like she's still alive. Yeah.
Well, and then I think that's one instance where the cutaway to the POV really works, right? Yeah, we just see like the very like small part of him, just like the bottom of the mask, and maybe we probably see the full mask, but it really worked right there. Was Deckard watching already by that point? He must have been.
I think.
Yeah, because that's the first point that he's like, I think that girl was just killed.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, that looked really real. And
but also, he calls 911. Listen, they're in Haddonfield. I call 911. I say, hey, Michael Myers is here at the Myers house. Something's going down at the Myers house. The police in Haddonfield are racing their asses over there. They have to be. There's no way they're not at this point.
That's just a thing in movies in general, in horror movies, that annoys the shit out of me. I've never once in real life heard of calling and the circuits are busy. We don't have anybody available to come over there, or this is a prank. No, like if you call 911, even if you don't say anything, you end the call, there's a cop outside of your door.
Did you guys ever call them when you were kids?
Oh my God, all the time.
Yeah, and they would show up and ask my mom weird questions like, is she abusing me? And I'm like,
wait, that happened once to us and we like didn't know who did it. Like my mom was like, who did it to me and my brother? And it wasn't me. And my brother was like a very good kid, so I don't think it was him. But like a cop showed up and was like, no, someone called 911.
Y'all still don't know? See, all of my family secrets are out already. We put my sister on trial one time because she did something to my journal. I don't know. So me and my friends put her on trial. And my brother didn't like that. So he called the police. And as my friends were leaving, cops stopped by them and said, do you know where the Garcia house is? Or whoever. I don't know. Because I guess he gave his name probably. And they pointed to my house, and the cops came, and they were there for like 30 minutes asking my mom questions. They're like, are you doing something to your daughter? Was your daughter? They were asking my sister questions, and I don't know. Big deal. But we didn't find that out that my brother had done it until like recently. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all the secrets are out now.
Yeah, I couldn't get away with that. They would show up and be like, your son keeps calling us, asking
or
us
they
what
would
our
call
favorite
back.
movie
They
is.
would call back sometimes, too, and I'd be terrified. I was like, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to do it.
They would call me back too, and I would like turn off the phone. You can't find me now.
I thought I was hot shit because my parents bought me a $5 phone. Not my own phone line, just $5 phone from
the
dollar store or something. And I thought I had my own phone, so I thought whatever calls I made, and they would never know about. So I was calling 911 all the time. I don't know, man. This is it is a movie that I rewatch with my usual Halloween rewatches, but it just is so dull. It's just dull.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to it. There's not a whole lot to talk about with it. I guess the ending is the big climax in the garage just infuriates me. She's slipping and falling everywhere. Tyra Banks is hanging dead above her, and she gets her ass pinned by a like a hard drive, like one of
Yeah.
these thingies over here, or
Yeah.
whatever the hell was like laying on her. I know none of this equipment right around me is gonna pin me down.
Yeah.
It's just
It looks like maybe a soundboard, but even that wouldn't, because
none of
the
it.
like
Yeah.
the table cart thing is like next to her, and
Yeah.
she's like laying, and we just see the one piece of like whatever like on her butt, and it's like, yeah, just push it off.
Right, but then Busta Rhymes comes in and has to put her over his shoulders, and you can see her face, and she's just like fully.
I would too, though. Okay, I would pick her ass up too, because the entire movie, this is the shit she's doing. Okay, we all criticized Jen for being the one who wanted to be famous. We're all in this house. Okay, all of us are in this house on camera for a reason.
You're all doing the
okay,
same
you're
shit.
not telling me that Sarah is not acting, and like she is an attention whore. She wants the attention. That's why she's just can't go.
Also, we should talk.
People don't scream like that to be able to shatter glass. She was doing that shit on purpose.
And just a light fell.
Also, it's so weird that we didn't go back to that. Like, they felt like that was like her superpower, and that's how she would defeat Michael. But like, we just saw that happen twice, and then
You thought she was going to defeat Michael with a scream?
No, I mean, like, it felt like a Chekhov's gun. Like, that's how she's introduced.
Right.
Oh, she screams really loud. Okay, so what? Like,
Right, they don't do anything
Yeah.
with it.
doesn't matter.
And she doesn't do anything
but-
at the end. She just
Also, I do want to talk about Jen's death, though, real quick, because he has a butcher knife and he chops her head off with just like,
yeah,
carpet
like some
knife.
of the kills. I guess we can go through some of the kills. Like that was, I'm here for it. If you're gonna go camp with it, go camp with it.
it's so silly.
I love when he kills her though, because I like the sound with like as she's screaming, and
Yeah.
then he cuts her head off, and you hear like her voice cut off,
Yeah.
and
That's
the air.
good. That's good. And I love a good cheesy, just like still shot where they were clearly just with the appliance. They were just there with the dummy, and they were just there to get the one shot. There was no like steady cam, nothing. They do that in 5 too with Mike when he gets like the rake in his eyes. If you watch it, like there's one shot where they just like set up the cam real still and just like did it to a dummy that looked nothing like him, right? I thought hers looked really good. I think she might have her head too. I remember
She
her
does.
saying that.
She does.
Yeah.
She also did, which is kind of cool about her. She has a reaction video of her own where she reacted to her scene.
Her YouTube channel
in
is
Halloween
great.
Resurrection.
I do love her YouTube channel, and she's like
I
a
love
beast
that.
with training as well. You should go watch her YouTube channel.
I love that she does. And we were talking about like she like is in the Mandalorian. Like she is still very
Yeah.
much working.
Yeah, she's a badass.
She was in Oculus, which I really love.
Yeah, she could have been a really good final girl. Like she could at least if you weren't gonna make her the final girl, like somebody who gets away with them, right? Like a third that gets away with them. Maybe she
Yeah,
like,
they're
puts
fine.
her
She could
she
be
puts her head back on and like runs out of there, holding it on. Maybe it wasn't all the way off or something. Something stupid.
I don't know. Yeah, and Busta Rhymes' karate noises when he is kicking.
Let's talk about all of the noises at this point, okay? All of the karate chops, all of the karate noises. Michael Myers getting where does he get zapped in the crotch, right?
The garage,
He
yeah,
gets
yeah.
The ooh.
I didn't even have captions on it. Ian had captions on it.
It just says "ooh" and then in parentheses echoes.
Yep.
Great stuff. But it just
Well, I guess if we're talking about sounds, I think
Yeah.
my favorite person with the sound is before they even get to the house. It's the random guy that wanders into their like dorm room,
so
and
weird.
he's like, "Ah."
It's so weird.
It's so fucking random. One kill that I did actually like was the guy that he kills with the tripod.
Did you? Okay, explain because I don't.
I thought that was well done because it was like only one person would have been looking at him. So it makes sense that like Michael could have gotten away with it without somebody seeing. And it was fairly bloody, and I thought it was well done. And I like how they incorporated that into the camera placement since they had the conversation about where he was going to put the camera. So I
There
don't
was
know,
some
I thought that
good
was...
luck that nobody saw him, though. That she happened to have been just dancing around with her little like latte at that exact moment that he decides to murder somebody, right? And so the camera. Okay, so was the camera just left there? Then it wasn't like attached to the wall or the floor. Nothing. It was just like left there.
not only was it left there on the ground, I never quite understood why the ends of this tripod were like super sharp.
Razor
like
sharp,
daggers.
yes.
Okay.
But then when you see that, once it's set down on the ground, the actual arms of the tripod are sticking right out into the walkway.
I don't know. I work with video equipment all the time now, and I don't think that's stabbing me.
I mean,
I don't
I
think
have a
it's doing
tripod
it.
that does have like pointy ends, but like I just don't think you could.
Do we want to Mythbusters this shit, Ian? Do you
All right.
volunteer?
You try to stab me.
I bet I
We'll
could
see
do
how
it,
it
though.
goes.
I bet I could do it. It's gonna be successful. I don't know. That one didn't really work for me. It felt very like, guys, it's the new millennium technology. We got tripods and.
Well, what did you think about? 'Cause I'm curious now. What did you think about Rudy's death? Because I did not like Rudy's death.
I liked it, and I thought he had some damn good fight in him. The only thing I didn't like, right, is that with each of these characters, they show them doing or talking about one thing in the movie early on, and that is how they either go out or that's the only thing they do or whatever. And so, like Busta Rhymes is shown watching karate movies like one time, and now he's like a karate champion. And then Rudy is the chef, and he's always talking about cooking. But like even that one, I was okay with because I liked that he did put in the fight to survive, even though he didn't.
I did like that he threw whatever it was in his face.
What was it?
seasonings,
Was it supposed to be
spices.
paprika? Something like that. Yeah.
Or he's like, what does he say? He was
Some
like, "You
coming."
like sushi, motherfucker." I did like that. I think that it's a technical thing that I didn't care for his death because
Yeah.
I rewatched that scene again this morning, and like when he goes to hit him with the knife, like he comes up, and I'm like, "What were you planning on doing with your arm?" Because the knife
Right
wasn't even
there.
facing
Like
him.
just-
So
a little slash,
yeah, like the
maybe.
knife is facing away, but then Michael grabs his arms, and when he throws his arms down, they have like a sound effect almost of like bones breaking.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed
But it's
that,
like
yeah.
down to his side, and then he lifts him up, and then you hear the noise of him pushing the knives in. But like
Where's
the
the knives
knives
going?
would have
Yeah,
been on
yeah.
the side of him, so I don't know how he got that.
And
in
then the
there.
knives
But I
always
did like the homage.
the big knife always like grows
Right,
Oh, yeah.
because
2 feet in order to just pin him in there, right? They did that with
It
the
would have-
original too, though.
it would have to be like the length of a sword to be coming out the other end and going through an actual human being.
And a door, and like a good chunk of the knife sticking out of the other end to get that little
Yeah.
like blood drip. Some things we just don't question, right? We're not supposed to do that. We're
Exactly.
not supposed to talk about that, okay? It's just movie magic. Rick Rosenthal, man, everybody.
Movie magic. Yes, that's
Windows
that's-
Movie Maker is what this movie was. That's the head crushing didn't really do for me. I'm not a big fan of just like a stationary kill. I need some sort of like something moving around the space.
I also felt like it just made it worse because those two people just stood there watching. They were
He
just like,
stood there
"What's gonna happen?" Huh? Like,
quietly. Then he's dead, and Sarah decides to go. Ah!
Or the blood coming out of his eyes.
Yeah.
That would not that would not happen.
But this is the new Michael. He crushes
Dramatic
people.
effect.
He crushes people's heads, and he does like one arm pull ups. Like this is Michael now. The new.
Oh,
Michael.
we should talk about that. Speaking of the one arm,
Yeah,
because
go on.
I mean, technically there was kills in the opening.
There were kills in the opening, which I thought were. I liked them. I was good with it.
I liked that he decapitates the guy and throws his head in the dryer, but like from a time perspective,
Yeah.
I didn't understand how he did that so quickly. But then, like, again, paying attention to space, like the other guard walks in there. But then when like he finally trips over him, I'm like, that was directly in front of the fucking
It
dryer.
was
How did
there.
you
He
not see
just
that?
he just happened to walk over it. Okay, Nick. He just happened to walk over it. That's just how we go. And the big puddle of like blood, right? It's very nice and shiny. Very obviously there.
What?
We just
what
don't
other
see it.
horror movie did the exact same thing with a head in the dryer?
It was. I still know what you did last. Or
Ah,
no,
yes.
that wasn't a head though. That was a whole person.
That was the full body.
Yeah. Still the same though. We like get the
Yeah.
effect of the head in the.
Oh, yeah,
Ugh,
it's
I
Ja-
love that
it-
movie.
Is it Jack Black that's in the?
No, it's the
No, it's the maid.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Those poor maids in that movie. They're always. Carla, hold my hand.
I am holding your hand.
It's good. I love it. That movie is fantastic.
But see, that's an example. Like that movie,
Yeah.
it's dumb,
Yes.
but it knows that it's dumb, and
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, granted,
That
in
is the
beginning I
big
said Halloween
difference.
Resurrection knows that it's dumb, but it was like it knows that it's dumb, but it doesn't try to do anything with being
Yeah.
dumb. Whereas I like something like I Still Know, like it knows that it's dumb and it's leaning into it.
Yeah.
I think that's
But I still like enjoy the opening, and I enjoy the kills of the opening, and I enjoy the security guard skills, and I enjoy Jamie Lee Curtis's death. I think it's so stupid and so like just ridiculous, and how she like kisses him and says, "I'll see you in hell before going down." Like that is some iconic stupid shit, right? Like you have your iconic stupid shit.
I love that he was literally holding on. I paused it and zoomed down, holding on with one fucking finger.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he's literally holding on with his index finger.
I didn't realize that.
He's been working out, okay? He's been training. He's been getting his body back. He's like, I just hit 50. I want to feel good about myself again. Does a whole Marie Claire spread or like a GQ spread talking about how he wants to get back in shape, wants to do one arm pull-ups again, and he does. And he holds on by one finger. I'm proud of him. It's my baby boy.
I mean, I wouldn't kick him out of bed, but
Listen, it probably stinks. Everything probably stinks.
I mean, he's been living down in that sewer ride.
Yeah,
like
eating
this Michael Myers
Halloween rats.
This Michael Myers looks like he's been showering at the YMCA or like the Gold's Gym, right? Like he's clean. It's okay. Now, this movie obviously killed any sort of timeline this franchise had, the momentum, timeline, whatever, anything this franchise had going for it. It was all dead now. And they went on to do the remakes, and then we get what we have now. What movie would you have made, both of y'all, directly after H2O instead of this?
A different franchise.
You just killed it.
H2O is such a good ending. H2O is such a good ending. If I had to,
the Akkads, they made sure you could not kill Michael Myers. You still had to work that
no. So if I had to, isn't there a Friday the 13th where there's someone pretending to be Jason and that like he's
5?
Yeah, I would do that. That's like the only way that if I was making money and I had no other job and they were like, you have to make a Halloween, I would make it be, there is a copycat Michael Myers killer. It is not Michael Myers. That's why we don't need Laurie Strode. We don't need to kill her. We just don't need to have her. And everyone can be confused, like, oh, he only goes after his sister. Why is he going after other people? And then the reveal is, it's not him. It's just some guy in a mask. Make it one of the guys in the institutions that he's been with. Like, any of that is what I would have done. That way you can have a new cast. Also make the cast actually dynamic. And have him attacking these other people and everyone be like, but normally he goes after Laurie, and then we find out why he's not going after Laurie is because Michael Myers is dead.
Because he can't afford to get to California. He's got to stay in Haddonfield.
Nick, what's your pitch?
Well, I mean, I probably would have done something similar, which is kind of funny considering that was an original idea that they had initially come up with
right?
for both H2O and this. And it was Mustafa Akkad that was like, nope, it's got to be Michael. Because originally in H2O, Charlie / the kid from Jumanji, he was supposed to be a copycat killer. And then Michael shows up towards the end.
I think. But then Michael does come in, right? Wasn't that like
right, towards the end.
Yeah.
But H2O is, well, I will always welcome more Halloween movies, even the bad ones. H2O is kind of like how I feel about The Gift in Buffy. Like that's where it should have ended.
Stop it! This is the wrong guest, Ian.
No, that and I are
don't
very
get me wrong.
Get out!
I will never say no to. Well,
no, keep going on your original thought train. Your original thought train was correct.
Yeah, H2O was such a good cap to that storyline. So I would, instead of trying to continue the storyline, I would have either rebooted it, which is what I hope that they do eventually, instead of like doing like a requel, just like have just a random year.
Yeah.
And Michael Myers shows up in Haddonfield. You don't have to have any specific connections to any of the other films, aside from like the first one, like the idea of Michael Myers, who he was. Just have him show up and kill people. I don't need an intricate backstory. That's probably what I would have done. Now, I will say that as a sequel to this, Zach, you and I kind of mentioned this before we started recording, but the comic book Halloween Night Dance, before the remakes and the David Gordon Green movies, similar to like the Buffy comics, those were canon. and it's a sequel to Resurrection, and it doesn't directly like talk about a lot of the stuff that happened in Resurrection. It's very similar to like a Scream 5, like, oh, the last time it happened was in 2011, something like that. But they actually take some of the elements of Resurrection in Michael's behaviors, like him switching masks with somebody and having that person get killed instead, but they do it effectively.
Yeah.
So maybe I wouldn't even have made a completely different story. I would have just had more competent people take this idea and do something better with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I think and like, again, it's...
Oh, wait, it just came into my... Instead of having, let's explore the Myers house, let's explore Smith's Grove.
Okay. I'm good with that. I like any sort of exploring because I think the idea of Dangertainment, right, and like them setting up some sort of like backstory that we're the audience going, why are we hearing about his childhood, right? It could be the same thing with Smith's Grove Sanitarium, right? It's like they set up his time in the sanitarium. We're supposed to find the clues. That could very well work in a sanitarium as well.
Well, it makes it more believable too, because you don't have to expand a house that we know is not that big.
I don't
you
ever
have this
want
giant sanitarium.
Rick Rosenthal to direct anything that involves a hospital ever again. No. I love Halloween 2. It's so wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. It is slow. It is a slow movie. This is a slow movie. I think he just makes slow movies. And I don't know if I'd have given this one to him.
I will say that this movie sort of confirms my suspicions of how much Rick Rosenthal actually did with Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, come on, there's no way that you directed both of these movies, and they're polar opposites. Like, I know John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, John Carpenter was primarily responsible for Halloween 2.
I don't know. I go back and forth on that one.
I mean, if we're having hot takes, I think all the Halloweens are pretty slow, but I think
Stop
not
it.
in a bad
What
way.
is wrong with you, Ian? Now
not in a bad way.
He
It's
starts
okay
this
to be
recording
slow.
going, I don't want to talk about the Halloween series because Zach loves it. And now he's
It's
like,
okay to be slow.
shitting all over it. Ridiculous.
I don't think slow is technically bad. Like The Descent is slow, and I love that movie. Like everyone doesn't die till the last like 20 minutes, but I think that's fucking awesome. I think it's okay to have a slow paced horror movie, but there's a difference between slow and bad. Mm-hmm. Like, so I do think the first Halloween is slow, but it works because it's slow.
Absolutely.
And so I don't mean that as a negative. I mean that as like
they
do it well.
With you. I'm just messing with you, having banter. I'm trying to get some content.
We like see them like, dicking around. We see them smoking weed in the car. And like, granted, Jamie Lee Curtis, like, she is a very good actor. So if there were not a good actor in that role, maybe it wouldn't work as well. Cause like not a lot of the other people are that great in that movie. But she is great. I don't think a lot of, I feel like
God, I'm going to cut your man bun off. I'm going to do it. You're digging. You're digging.
Great. And like, it's fun watching them like run into the cop dad and smoking weed and be like, oh shit. Like shit like that is like, you enjoy watching it. But that's like slow, right? That's not horror action. And I think that does work in horror movies if it's done well, because you're building us up with these characters so that you do care when they die, not like, oh, I don't even remember this person's name and they're being chased and put on a spike. And it's like, okay, that was an okay chase scene, but I don't remember anything about that character, like.
My resurrection before we kind of click out of here. I think I kind of agree with a little bit of what both of you guys are saying. I think the way to go forward with the Halloween movie is to quit acknowledging anything else, right? So if they're going to bring Michael Myers back, just make a story and don't reference anything else. Don't reference anything else. Just set it wherever you want to set it. Put whoever you want to put in it, even if it's Michael Myers. Don't even reference whether Laurie Strode thing happened ever. Don't tell us and just do it, and we'll take it as we take it.
I still wouldn't want them to. The thing that you have said about kills now is how like it feels like they watched the Halloween series. Like if we're going
the characters,
yeah, like I need it to be like he has killed a lot of people. They don't need a reference, but it needs to be like this is a killer that people know. I think that's the only thing I would need for continuity is this is a killer who has killed people.
They need him out of Haddonfield. I think Haddonfield and Laurie Strode are both weighing him down. At least for a couple of sequels, they need to put him somewhere else.
Agreed. I think that's it. Across franchises. I think that's a thing that boxes them in a lot of the times. Like I'm so glad, like the Scream 6, I'm so thankful it's not in Woodsboro anymore. I was H2O was refreshing because it was in California versus Haddonfield. So yeah, I mean, I think a future sequel, it's the Legend of the Boogeyman, the Legend of Michael Myers, and that's all you need.
I fucking hope. I am like praying, and I don't know any of the spoilers, so don't tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I'm like praying that he is like the spirit of Halloween in Halloween Ends. Like I'm praying he's ghost fucking Michael Myers. Like I don't want a human Michael Myers anymore. I don't want it. I would like him coming out of the pumpkins like in the Dennis Etchison script from Halloween 4, you know, something
be
very,
like 12 feet tall.
I would be fine with that. Something
Flipping cars
crazy,
and shit.
something just like wild. Okay. Well, we have now covered Halloween Resurrection. We have wrapped up this original series. We're about to go
Fan
on
favorite.
we're about to go on to the Rob Zombie movies. Ian is so excited. We thank you so much for having us on your show, Nick.
Yes, thank you.
Let everybody know where they can find you, who you are, where you've been, what you're doing.
Well, my name is Nick. I like long walks on the beach. You can find me on my YouTube channel. I do reactions primarily to horror movies. Nick Says Boo is the name of the channel. You could also check me out on my Patreon if you want to give me your money. Also, Nick Says Boo. Social media, Instagram, Twitter, Nick Says Boo. And occasionally I am a guest on the Horror Hour. So you can check me out on there and check them out and all that jazz.
Cool. There you go. All righty, guys. We will see you next time.
Hi.